you hit record and then just do the thing with the finger?
You're up.
Welcome to another damn movie podcast. Let me ask you a question. Do you like movies? Do you like podcasts? Do you like hearing two jackholes give their 2 cents about movies while doing a podcast? Well, then quit digging. You have struck oil. This is another damn movie podcast. I am Charlie Thompson, movie blogger and all over movie fan, self-diagnosed cinephile, and this is my partner, Jeff Klein, and he is...
I am usually a speaker and trainer, and today I'm a bloviator when we're doing our movie podcast.
Right.
And
so we got a real treat for you today.
I'm going to show all the movie nonsense I have behind me. You would probably enjoy. There's a bunch of Wishbone and all kinds of good stuff.
Oh, nice. Well, I mean, since we're doing a show off, if you see my little mural back here, it is 20 different movies that I got from Blockbuster when they were shutting down. Judgment Day, all that kind of stuff. So I like to keep it in the garage because it has a lot of my fanboy stuff in it.
Ah, there you go.
So,
garage, is that where you do this podcast from?
Yes, it is in my garage.
Okay, so
I'm hoping
it worked for Mark Maron. Let's see how it works for us.
So, folks, today we'll be talking about the Coen Brothers classic from 2004, The Ladykillers, and also just kind of going off the cuff if we need to. I can't wait for today's episode. But first off, since The Ladykillers is basically a remake, I wanted to see what your favorite remake was.
Oh, wow. So we're going to be talking about The Ladykillers with Tom Hanks from 2004.
Correct.
My favorite remake. The one that first occurs to me is actually a feature that was made into a TV miniseries.
Okay.
I'm thinking of The Shining. But there's got to be, I'm sure there's a movie out there too in my brain. But The Shining was a great movie if you had never read the book with Jack Nicholson.
Right, exactly.
But they should have called it something else.
Do you have any ideas off the top of your head of what they would have called it?
I think stuck in the snow. Or, I'm sure not off the top of my head. I can't come up with a great title. But besides Here's Johnny, and that really wouldn't work.
Right.
I would actually have called it The Name of the Hotel, which I can't recall now, but that would have been a good title. The whatchamacallit.
So
because but the TV miniseries version was really good. But let's talk about remake.
I actually have a funny story about the television remake of Shining, if you want to hear.
Okay, cool.
So
yeah,
this television remake was basically a 4-part series, right? It was 1 hour.
Yeah, it was 3 or 4 parts. Yeah, with the guy from Wings.
Right. Yeah, it had. I can't remember his name. Stephen Wright. That's his name. And Rebecca De Mornay was the wife. I remember that. So anyways, so I was a huge fan of the Jack Nicholson version of Shining. Hearing about the TV version, I was super stoked and really wanted to see it. So our family, back in the day, we only had really one TV that had good reception with antenna, and that was the family TV. In my family, my dad ruled the TV. It did not matter what was happening, who was doing this. Dad ruled the TV, and so he graciously gave me the opportunity to watch The Shining on TV. And I got through the first 3 episodes, and I was so stoked. And then I got home from school. I was so ready to watch the 4th episode of this miniseries. And then halfway through it, my dad tells me to go to bed. Like out of nowhere. He didn't give a single fuck what I was doing those first 3 episodes. But I guess
Yeah, he had a porn VHS he wanted to watch.
but it was one of those where I was just so mad at him. Like I've gotten through the first 3 hours, and then you all of a sudden just want to keep me from the ending. I mean, I know what happens. He kills his family. I just want to see it and how they present it. And I remember his one excuse was, "Hey, they're gonna release it on video anytime now." Cut to like 15 years later, I see it on DVD at Blockbuster.
Yeah.
And I'm so over it. Like I don't even want to see it anymore. I still have not seen the ending of the TV version of The Shining. That's my story.
I was going to ask you. I think you already.
What's up?
I said I had figured out the end, but that's hilarious.
Exactly.
Hilarious. Oh, okay. So here, man, there's some great remakes. And then there's some stinkers, because now I don't know if we should count those great Japanese horror movies that we watched, only saw the remakes, like The Ring and The Grudge. And, because those were Japanese first, and then they remade them. But a lot of them were almost shot for shot the same movie.
I agree with you there.
Like, Footloose, which I haven't seen the new one, but I heard it's like shot for shot the same movie, except for the music numbers. Again, I don't know, because I haven't.
I've actually watched.
What are you doing?
The remake of Footloose. Do you know who directed the remake of Footloose?
Yeah,
it's Craig Brewer.
I forgot.
And that is the man who directed and wrote Hustle and Flow, and directed Black Snake Moan. 2 very good movies, right? And so you get that.
Well, my whole thing about that was, why didn't they just make a movie of the musical, of the Broadway musical, instead of trying to redo the Kevin Bacon movie? Wouldn't that have made more sense?
I guess, but I think the film is just so ingrained in the American pop culture that they just had to.
That's why I thought it was cool.
And so, I mean, just hearing the news of a remake in production for Footloose, I was just like, they're going to fail so badly. And then when I heard that Craig Brewer was attached to it, I was like, maybe it has some legs. And so I watched the thing, and I got to tell you, I was seriously impressed, especially given the storyline of. I mean, Footloose storyline is just so stupid, anyways. And so they kind of have this kind of level of stupidness, and so they kind of play on that.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more dance numbers.
Well,
it's like every kid in that high school has taken some kind of professional dance lesson, and so now they're doing like.
I guess they wanted to do the musical, but they wound up not being able to, or something, in between. And so that's okay. So great remakes. We got True Grit. The Joel and Ethan Coen True Grit's better than the original.
I agree. My father would agree with you.
Ocean's 11. The original was better. Although the newer one was a lot of fun, the first one was a better movie.
I get that.
Because the Clooney Matt Damon one was kind of like them just, it didn't feel like a movie.
I get that. And I remember watching the first Ocean's 11, thinking it was great. The original.
Oh yeah, and the way it ended, where they don't wind up with the money. I mean, it's just hilarious.
It's kind of like a timestamp. Like you can kind of you can kind of see that this is the culture that it was coming from.
Yeah.
And then
I'm jumping around, Charlie, but the thing, the set was at 80s. The 80s remake of The Thing, I thought it was stupid. but the sequel, was great. Where they go, that was actually a prequel where they showed what happened before to the first crew. There were a lot of good things in the Kurt Russell one, but there was also a lot of stupid stuff.
Correct.
Like, yeah. So I mean, I liked it, but there were just too many times when I went, "Oh, that's stupid." Like when the head sprouted legs and went skittering across the room. And I'm sure other people went, "That's cool."
Well, because that was going to be one of my main arguments in the whole remake conversation. That being The Thing and then also The Fly. But The Thing.
Oh, the new Fly.
Right.
The new Fly was great.
But The Thing, I don't know. Wow. I'm kind of biased towards John Carpenter anyways.
Well, yeah, and I like him a lot, but I'm not. It wasn't bad. There was just something about it. It wasn't okay. Here's the thing: it's the difference between a thriller and a horror movie.
Right. I get that.
The first one was a thriller.
I get that.
Yeah, the first one was a thriller, and the second one was a horror movie.
Right, but I mean, but you can't deny that makeup effects on The Thing.
Oh, the visual effects were incredible, and the in camera and then the post production effects were great, but that doesn't make a movie great.
Okay, I don't like
it's good, but it's not good. I just think the original was a better movie.
The Thing from Another World? I do disagree. I've seen that film, and I believe that The Thing is it's so much more rich in character, and then the amount of visual effects that are in it. I mean, just alone. I mean, you can call your favorite werewolf movie of all time, but I think the greatest werewolf movie of all time is American Werewolf in London, based solely on the visual effects. Yeah. I mean, and what Rob Bottin, is it Rob Bottin or Rob Bottin? Either way, the makeup effects artist on The Thing. I mean, this guy put in some serious.
Okay.
And so. Okay. I mean, on top of that, you have a signature John Carpenter style of filmmaking. I mean, you can look at a film by John Carpenter and just know it's John Carpenter.
Well, but it was a John Carpenter. But most John Carpenter movies don't have all the make you jump moments that movie did.
True.
Much more, and I like the subtle better than.
And then on top of that, you have the aspect of Ennio Morricone doing the score for The Thing, as opposed to John Carpenter actually doing it himself. And so it has a different feel to it as well. But I still considered it to be a John Carpenter film.
Yeah, all right. Well, the original is more like a Hitchcock
movie. Correct. You're right. But I mean, but if
and in Kurt Russell, I think you see too much.
That's a good argument. I mean, but Desert Island.
I'm pushing the button there, man. I knew that would
Desert Island. You had these two movies to watch: A Thing from Another World and John Carpenter's The Thing. Which one would you watch?
Well, I'm stuck in a desert island. I'm going to watch both of them.
Well, of course, but I mean, which one would you watch first?
Well, here's it. So if I have a date to snuggle up with, I'm going with The Thing from Another World.
Okay.
Because it's scary. It's not shocky.
Okay. I hear you. I hear you, but I'm still keeping my ground on John Carpenter's Thing.
I don't expect you to change. Not at all. Okay. So True Grit. We agree that the new one is better.
I thought it added more depth to it. I thought Jeff Bridges' character of Bruce Cockburn.
Well, it was truer to the book. It was true to the original story.
Right. And
Yeah. Scarface? Scarface, the original was better.
Okay.
The Pacino, it was a totally different movie.
I'll give you that one. I'll give you that one. I mean, as much as 1980s Scarface is beloved, yeah, James Cagney, black and white.
Yeah, I mean, Paul Muni was Scarface. Yeah, Paul Muni.
It wasn't Cagney?
Cagney. No, it's Paul Muni.
Fuck me. I'm sorry. Okay.
Pretty sure. I'll check.
So the remake that I really hold in the highest regard.
I didn't see the Pacino Scarface until I got the anniversary DVD. And I'm just not a big fan of that movie. I like everybody.
And that's the same problem I had as well. Was that I had watched it later on in life. So I guess the first time I watched it was
Paul Muni,
732. And as much as I loved it, I had seen the first Scarface before, just by happenstance.
Yeah. Yeah, and now I know. Well, now I know why I like the old one better.
Right. Well, I mean,
I know I like the old one better. No, because the new one was directed by Brian De Palma and written by Oliver Stone,
who was neck deep in cocaine, by the way, when he was writing that film. And so I think the Scarface is just Oliver Stone's love letter to cocaine, I think. But Scarface is good, but I think
great performances. Don't get me wrong, but if you have, for choosing which one's better, I got to go with the Howard Hawks.
I agree. I've only seen it twice, and the last screening I had was maybe 10 years ago.
Now, according to this list here, True Lies is a remake, and I've never heard of anything that it was remade from.
Of the movie we're going to talk about? I'm sorry, you're
yeah, True Lies.
Oh, True Lies?
Yeah,
I died. It would have been a remake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand what it's on this list.
Well, if you're talking about remakes that I hold in high regard, number one's got to be The Fly by David Cronenberg, who is probably one of my favorite directors, of all time. Even though,
right? Well, in the original was a B movie,
but it had so much of a base on it.
Just about,
just where you could really expand with.
It was just a B horror movie. Yeah.
And so, I'm trying to find the right words here. Knowing Cronenberg and knowing the way he goes with the physical horror and kind of showing that thing that we're all really human and that we're not really on the top of the food chain. Considering the things that we've done, Cronenberg really shines in this film. And on top of that, you have Jeff Goldblum as your lead. And he would get Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, it was a great part for him. He was breaking out of being whatever he was breaking out of. He was breaking into leading man territory where he'd never been before. He was always a sidekick, and this Fly was his first leading man role.
And so you got to see full Goldblum on the screen, and I thought it was just a great presentation. Gina Davis, I'm still on the fence with her overall.
Yeah, she was super. Well, she was coming right off her Oscar nomination for Tootsie, for her Oscar for Tootsie.
Well, I thought she won the Oscar for the actual.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I thought she won the Oscar for the actress too.
Say that again.
I thought she won the Oscar for the actress.
You're breaking up again. No, she won the Oscar for Tootsie.
Okay.
Best Supporting Actress.
Okay.
I mean, I'll double.
I thought it was The Accidental Tour that she won the Oscar for.
Oh no, that was much later. That was a couple of years ago.
Okay.
That was a while later.
Well, then if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Okay, let's talk about bad remakes.
Yeah, I'm looking.
Let's talk about the ones that really missed the mark as far as.
Okay, we got to do one. We got to do one more good one where it's a toss-up between which one's a better movie, but they're completely different. It's the Seven Samurai and the Magnificent Seven. Both deserve to be classic movies.
I think I gravitate more towards Seven Samurai, just because it's.
Yeah. Well, it's such. Okay, so. Yeah, Seven Samurai is classic filmmaking from a genius.
And it's.
Magnificent Seven is one of the best Westerns ever made.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm thinking.
No?
I'm thinking Kurosawa did it better.
Well, no, but I'm saying, I'm not saying which. I'm saying that they're in different.
I agree.
They're in different categories. No, Seven Samurai. Seven Samurai is one of the top motion pictures of all time. Top 10.
I agree with
that. And Magnificent Seven is one of the top.
I agree with
Westerns of all time. But it might be in the last 90 of the top 100 movies. Maybe.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Maybe higher, maybe a little higher. But they're in completely different worlds, even though they're both really. I mean, movies. That's my take on it.
I guess my take on it would be that Seven Samurai, I guess told the story better. Seven Samurai. But God dang it. But to be honest, I'm a bigger fan of Yojimbo by Kurosawa than I am Seven Samurai. But I'm just a huge fan of Kurosawa just overall.
Yeah. You were completely right about the Oscar. Geena Davis won for Accidental Tourist as the Best Actress. She was nominated for Thelma and Louise. Well, who was it that came out of? I thought somebody came out of Tootsie.
Dustin Hoffman won.
Well, no, one of the. I was remembering. Maybe it was just that it was a breakout role for her. But because nobody knew who she was.
Makes sense. But I could have swore it was Accidental Tourist. I'm so glad that I'm right.
You are right.
So what's your pick? Do you overall, which one would you pick? No.
Best remake of all time
or Seven Samurai?
Oh no, Seven Samurai is one of the best movies ever made. So it's easy to say that it's better. But they're both really great.
I agree. Okay, so when you talk about bad remakes, I'm always in the circle of like the Total Recall, RoboCop, Friday the 13th era remake, thing.
Oh God, yeah, I never saw the RoboCop remake.
I watched that thing in theaters the day after it came out. I mean, that's how much of a RoboCop fan I am. And
got it. That's what it. The big surprise Oscar for Tootsie was Terry Garr.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the big, because Jessica Lange was Best Supporting Actress, but it seemed like she was the best. She was more of the Best Actress, and Terry Garr was nominated for Best Actress and won.
Okay.
Even though her part seemed to be, to me, and I think everybody else, her part was smaller.
I agree.
But she was listed as the lead. nobody knew who Jessica Lange was yet. That's what it was.
That's
I think she had been in King Kong.
yeah, right.
Speaking of remakes,
That's what I was thinking. Is like that's where I remember Jessica Lange was being.
Yeah.
When
you get one brief nudity, one tit from the Kong with his finger,
right. That's really all you need, you know. I mean, Jessica Lange is beautiful. I remember watching Blue Sky. You remember Blue Sky?
Yeah, I don't know if I ever saw it.
With her and Tommy Lee Jones. There's a lot of serious Jessica Lange footage in Blue Sky, and she actually won the Oscar that year for Best Actress in Blue Sky. So
okay,
but my first impression with Jessica Lange was her, you know, with the one titty out, and then the second impression I had of Jessica Lange was her just topless half movie in Blue Sky.
Yeah.
And so when I watch American Horror Story in later years, I'm like, hey, that's that chick that got naked all the time.
That's hilarious.
So I mean, but she's been in so many other things later on that I found out about. But the first two experiences were just her being just skin that you could look at. And okay, so
we have two King Kong remakes to talk about.
We do. Okay, so I remember watching this. I remember watching the '72 King Kong when I was a kid, and I never watched it again. No, it was on TNT.
Yeah, did you go see it in the movie theater?
It was the first time I watched it.
You probably had to, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I saw it in the movie theater.
Okay.
And I was already a big fan of the original.
Okay.
And the coolest so picture Kong on top of the Empire State Building in the original 1933 movie.
Okay.
And how big he seemed there. And then picture him standing on top of the Empire, one of the towers of the Empire, of the World Trade Center, where he didn't take up, you know, half of the roof.
Yeah.
And then the big deal in that movie is when he jumped from one tower to the other and then back.
Right.
It was a stupid movie. It was De Laurentiis at his schlockiest.
I agree.
But it was a lot of fun. And I can't imagine it's as much fun on TV as it was in the movie theater in '79.
I can imagine. Yeah, I mean, it was one of those things like back in the day. I'm sure you remember. TNT would air the same movie 3 times in a row.
Yeah,
you remember this?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the debut of blah blah blah. And actually, it wasn't that long ago that they stopped.
Right. And so like when King Kong aired,
they'd have the exclusive rights. Yeah, before Netflix and all that other stuff, they'd have the exclusive rights to the movie first.
And so they would like air it 3 times in a row. So even if you tuned in halfway through, you had another whole other screen to look forward to afterward. Yeah. And so that's the way I viewed it. Was I viewed it from the capture of King Kong,
the end and then the beginning.
And then I watched the ending, and I was like, oh, I would love to see how this thing starts. And then my wish was granted. And then on the flip side, you have Peter Jackson's turn at making a King Kong film, which I think was more.
I like that movie.
You know,
I like it.
I loved that movie too. I saw it in theaters twice, by the way. And that movie's 3.5 hours long.
Yeah, I always thought I missed out seeing it in the theater, but I watched it on cable first without commercials, and it keeps coming on, and I'll switch over to see if it's the good parts or if it's early in the movie, I'll switch away. But if it's in the middle when they're getting chased by giant wasps and the Brontosaurus tumble, I'll watch that stuff over and over again.
And I remember hearing the news that Jack Black was going to be in it, and then hearing also that Jack Black took a deal where the only way he could get his Tenacious D movie made is if he starred in King Kong with Peter Jackson. And I was thinking to myself, like who's taking that deal?
Hey, that's look at that's all.
Oh, enlighten me.
That's an old trick. You know how that's how Dirty Dancing got made. Well, Patrick Swayze had to do that awful future desert movie.
Okay, so there's actually some weight to that. Actual,
you know, nobody. Yeah, well, and nobody even remembers that movie.
Okay, please do, because I have no idea what you're talking about.
Doodle Floodle, and I'm going to look it up, but it's. Right. He made it with his. I think his wife actually co-starred in that one.
Okay, so he went to the studio. He said, "I want to make Dirty Dancing," deal. And they're like, "No."
I don't know if it was that cut and dry, okay. But it was Steel Dawn, 1987. His character was named Nomad.
Okay.
He was the Road Warrior genre without the cars. He's even got a headband, a single string headband in the movie. So it's post-apocalyptic desert.
Who is it?
And wait for it, guess who the bad guy is? Anthony Zerbe. Anthony Zerbe is the bad guy.
Let me see.
You got a movie when Anthony Zerbe is the bad guy.
You got to. I'm on IMDb right. Oh my God, you're right. You're absolutely right.
And I can't remember.
Yeah, I had to get a refresher course here.
Yeah, you had to remember who Anthony Zerbe was.
Okay, yeah, you're right. you're making a certain kind of movie.
Yes, and I can't remember if Brian James was his friend or one of the bad guys. But that's another name. That's another name for it's a certain kind of movie. There were some exceptions when he was the partner.
Yeah.
48 Hours.
I love Brian James. He's the best. Yeah, you're right.
I like him a lot too.
Oh man, I'm looking back at his resume.
Kind of movie most of the time.
I'm a huge Tango and Cash fan. Love Tango and Cash. Big fan. And so
that's funny.
So that was the rumor I heard before I watched King Kong. And so then I was like, okay, so I'm kind of, tepid. Maybe Jack Black's not fully into it. And so then I watched King Kong, and I'm so absorbed by the characters. People always bitch about how you never see the actual creature until about 90 minutes in. But it was, I think you kind of need that exposition in this movie.
Yeah.
In order to.
Oh,
right.
Well, and they, all three King Kongs did that.
And so then whenever you finally get to see the ape, and then on top of that, you get to see the ape in action sequences. I think it just kind of hits so much better because you invested that time and invested in the characters to where but by the time it's actually going down, you're like, fuck yeah. Let's see King Kong rip that dinosaur's jaw open, and then so when it happens, you're just standing up in your seat. You're just like, hell yeah, go King Kong, you save your girl, man. And so Andy Serkis did a great job on King Kong. Peter Jackson, his stuff is always quality no matter what it is, whether it be Dead Alive or The Lovely Bones. He puts his entire soul into projects that he does. And so King Kong just came out amazingly, but there was a lot of petty bullshit that people were reviewing on the actual film itself. And I remember going to buy the DVD the day it came out. I was so impressed with that. And yeah, but I mean, it's a lot.
Are there good extras?
A lot of technical stuff, like how they did it, and then because one of my favorite scenes in that movie is whenever the like the giant bugs and the giant plants come in, like when they fall in that pit, and like that, like they're eating their arms and appendages and stuff. I mean, that was one of my favorite scenes in that entire movie.
Yeah.
And so they were just kind of breaking down how that worked, and then how the brontosaurus, stampede happened, and all the other stuff. But nothing really too enlightening, except for I remember specifically they were talking about how to recreate the 20s back in the day, and how they really were trying to get it right, but and so they worked really hard. But then I remember watching an internet video years later about how they were putting King Kong on display in Broadway, and then King Kong broke out. And so, and then by the end of the actual movie, it was daylight. But whenever they were displaying King Kong, it was completely nighttime. And so they were like, so what time of day were they actually displaying the monkey? Because it looked like it was like 5 a.m. Because by the time King Kong ended up, destroying everything, it was probably like an hour and a half worth of destruction that he was going through. And then by the time he got actually caught, it was daytime.
Okay.
And I thought that was just like a really funny part. But I remember them on the extras being so like close and fine-tooth combing everything, and like making sure all the signs looked very 20s, and the street cars and the trolleys and all that other stuff. And oh really?
That's all I used to do when I was in that business. Oh yeah. Set dressing, set decorating, yeah.
And so that was a good feature that I liked on it. So I guess of the three that have been made, just me being my generation, I would have to go with Peter Jackson's King Kong. Even though even though it has that terrible line by Jack Black at the very end that was so forced, and you know what I'm talking about. It wasn't. It was beauty killed the beast.
No.
I know it is.
That's in all three movies,
whenever Jack Black says it, it just seems so.
That's why.
Yeah, but
that's an important line. You can't make a King Kong movie without saying it.
Yeah, you would feel robbed of
delivering
your intention.
Yeah, it's not King Kong unless Beauty killed the Beast. Now he could have just said, maybe it would have been better. Maybe you would have liked it better if he had said something more Jack Black like. Yeah, that's what happens when the little head doesn't thinking for the big guy.
Yeah, and I guess that's the thing is that coming out of Jack Black's mouth, and plus his character and being invested in it for so long.
Yeah, that was
like you knew that this guy would never say that line.
Yeah,
but he did it anyway.
Yeah, and it's the promoter who said it. It's his line in all the movies. So I don't think they would have been able to take the line away from it. And you know what? I think I don't have any problem saying that the new one is a better movie, because it's a better movie. But it's a better movie because we have the technology. The reason the first movie was so great is it was cutting edge technology. You had what's his name?
Harryhausen.
Harryhausen. Oh my God! Yes, Ray Harryhausen doing his genius, having a dinosaur model fight a monkey, a gorilla model.
Yeah, just absolutely
just never been done
making
right
people's
before.
Brains explode on screen.
Total cutting.
And then the 72 version came out, and that was whenever you saw like the giant like animatronic, ape kind of really come into play, along with the mat.
Yeah, the De Laurentiis, the De Laurentiis version, they actually built a giant gorilla hand
Right.
for Jessica Lange.
And so that was like something you'd never seen before either. And it's also one of the stops on the
right. Well, they didn't agree, but they did that. Yeah. I'm not sure if they built a hand for the Peter Jackson one, and then it wasn't all visual effects.
But knowing Peter Jackson, he likes to mix practical and special.
Sure, but I don't know. Like I said, I just didn't. If you didn't see a hand in the extras,
right.
Then they didn't build it.
Okay, so staying on monsters, knowing that Godzilla came out in 2014, what are your thoughts on the remake of Godzilla?
Oh God. Okay, well, Godzilla's been made a bunch of times. To be fair, but well, they were all like the original Godzilla with Raymond Burr, was a piece of crap. I mean, it was better than some of the other crap that was being made, but overall, it was not. It was a good movie as far as monster movies go, but it was a B movie. That's sort of
I think people give a lot of credit because of the trail that it blazed with all the additional characters and just the outlandish style that it became, and then near the end of its initial run.
Right. Yeah, and then the Matthew Broderick version was decent up until a point, and then it got stupid.
Right, and see, that's my thing with Roland Emmerich.
A bunch of that stuff
is that he can either make a fantastic film, or he can make an absolute piece of shit. The director of Independence Day,
Who's that?
Godzilla, and The Patriot, and 2012, and the new Independence Day.
Yeah,
Roland Emmerich is the genius behind all.
Yeah. Okay, I just didn't hear you. Yeah, I didn't hear you cut off. And then of course the newest Godzilla I thought was great, and it was a really sort of true to form remake of the 50s movie.
Did you see some kind of franchise play whenever they were near the end of the movie? Like there could be
absolutely. That it ended the way every Japanese Godzilla movie ended, with Godzilla going back into the ocean until he's needed again. Now, when I was a kid, they used to show a lot of those Godzilla movies on Saturday afternoons on TV, and I can't tell you how many times I watched Godzilla versus King Kong. Yeah, that's that's one of the best of the Japanese monster movies. The one I never saw, which I'd still like to see, was Destroy All Monsters, and that was supposed to be as good, pretty good too, where all of Godzilla's
okay. Well, I remember reading reviews about Godzilla before I actually watched it, and so I mean they were sucking this movie's dick for like the entire time I was reading this review.
Yeah,
and they were talking about the allegory of the atomic bomb. Yeah. And so it was like, I mean, they were talking this movie up so much and saying, oh, it's classic, pulp fiction from the post-nuclear Japan. And it's like, well, I get that, but it's just not like a very good movie, Yeah. And like, I get what you're trying to say. But I got it really early on, and so now I just want to be entertained, and you're not doing that. And so, but I agree. The 2014 Godzilla.
Yeah. Well, I feel like I have to bring up one more thing or maybe two before we talk about the Lady Killers. One is if we're talking about Godzilla, we have to mention Cloverfield.
Yeah, I think it was his first film.
It's J.J. Abrams, right?
First feature.
Yeah. It's the only thing that I know
Really?
of that
Because I
he's
hated
done that I
Super 8.
hated.
Couldn't couldn't stand it.
Oh, really? See, I like Super 8 a lot. But
You know, I,
hated
I I
Clover.
really enjoyed Cloverfield actually. The first few viewings I had were with the first one I had was with my wife. I redboxed it, and she loved the hell out of it, and I kind of did too. And then when
Yeah.
I got my first Blu-ray player, I had screened it for my son, who was 11 at the time, and he was just so glued to the screen
Yeah.
and just like waiting for the next thing to happen, and like the two buildings
Yeah.
like kind of leaning on each other, and the whole journey to get up there, and then just not being able to see the person or the beast's face at the time.
Well, we should put on our list of shows as a show about
Okay,
found footage movies.
I'm a big
Love
fan
found
myself
footage
too.
movies. And that's,
Okay.
but I just didn't like that one. And maybe it was because the people just seemed a lot of them
I
seemed
get
way
that.
too whiny.
I can totally get
To me, it was a bunch of whiny 20-somethings doing stupid shit like they'd never seen a
that.
monster
Just
movie
completely
before. And and then they threw in, and just like that other Godzilla movie, they threw in some stupid thing with little babies running around somehow that really was never explained.
I get that.
Yeah.
I mean, but I remember like asking because I think I watched Cloverfield with my son solely as kind of an experiment of what he would absorb from this movie. And I remember asking him like what did you think about the alien babies? And he's like, I thought that was cool. It's like frightening. It's like little bugs happening. And I was like,
yeah.
Oh no, that's all I had.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry. I want to give a shit about the people in the movie I'm watching, and I never gave a shit about.
I mean, their plight in the very beginning was very petty, and then by the time
I totally get what they were trying to do.
Yeah,
but there's a similar movie, and I'd have to look up to figure out which one it is. But there's a similar movie where everybody's I forget what it's called. But there's a similar movie where they're all getting taken over by aliens, and somebody manages to keep their personality when they get eaten by the alien. And I got it, and I thought that was that was really cool because I gave a shit about the people.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's very two-dimensional when you're talking about the characters in the movie. And I think that's what J.J. Abrams was kind of going for, was the catharsis of it, is that you're just kind of being introduced.
Yeah, whatever.
Kind of like
even
figuring out.
Even but the monster is supposed to be some sort of a meaningful character in some way, and I don't think it ever was.
Yeah, I agree. And I thought that it was a one-off monster, and it wasn't really worth having any kind of notoriety to it, because it just seemed like just a big human just walking around smashing stuff. But since we're on the subject, did you see the trailer for 10 Cloverfield Street? Ooh.
No.
Well,
is that a sequel?
I have no idea what the hell it is. It's basically a teaser trailer that stars Mary Elizabeth Winstead and John Goodman and some other dude inside of a bunker underground.
Oh yeah. 10 Cloverfield Lane. Yeah, I saw.
Yeah, and it looks intriguing.
I have no idea.
And I'm a huge Goodman fan. I'll watch anything he does. I'm not sure exactly what it's supposed to be, but I'm assuming, since the Bad Robot label is on it and J.J. Abrams is producing it, that it's going to be an offshoot of the Cloverfield thing. And maybe it'll give us more insight into why it's called Cloverfield.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the second topic you wanted to bring up with the lady killers?
Uh, Willy Wonka.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. First of all, I just want to give my vote. The Gene Wilder version was the superior version.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's easy. Absolutely.
But I thought that Tim Burton really made a good try in making the remake his own. I guess you could say it, just in his own Burtonisms.
There were a lot of really cool things in it, but part of that was technology that we have now that they didn't have then. I didn't, and it may even have been truer to the book because I read the book several times as a kid, and the childlike piece that Johnny Depp played seemed a little closer to what the book was about, but there was no depth there.
Right. I get that too.
And Gene Wilder's child guy was more, I don't know. He wasn't a big kid. You never thought of him as a big.
Yeah, you always thought of him as a superior of some kind that knew exactly what was going on. Didn't give him exactly what was going on.
Yeah. But that's yeah. I mean, I'm such a big fan of Gene Wilder's that I saw some really crappy movies over the years.
Right. I mean, they all got stinkers, but Gene Wilder, when he plays a stinker, it's a bad one.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, but
so the thing that
go ahead.
The thing that really irked me about the remake of Willy Wonka was just like the stupid petty changes that they made to the story, which I never read the Roald Dahl actual novel, but the whole thing about like God, what's her name? They changed the goose to a freaking squirrel, and I thought it was just so unnecessary.
Oh yeah.
To do that. I mean, if you're going to do it, why don't you just do the goose that laid the golden egg? I mean, it's such a much better premise. But I never read the book.
Right, and I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if either one of those was in the book.
Yeah, and it seemed unnecessary and stupid to change the cowboy boy. The one that just ate a whole bunch of chocolate bars.
Mike.
And then.
Mike TV, that's what.
Yeah, Mike TV, and then to change his character to a girl's character. I mean, it was just kind of stupid. Like I just thought it was just like it took me out of the movie immediately. Like the second they started making these stupid little changes for the sake of just making it different, I thought it was just like I was just immediately checked out. I was like you're just doing that to set yourself apart, but you're doing it in such a stupid way. And so god awful that I mean it doesn't make sense. I mean, if you're just going to recreate it, just recreate it. I mean, but don't recreate it and then just add stupid shit to it.
I miss the musical numbers from the real people, not just the Oompa Loompas.
Exactly, and
okay. So what's really funny is the book has illustrations.
Okay.
And the Oompa Loompas in the book are real pygmies with grass skirts and bones through their nose and their hair and all that. Now, which is just looking back, it's just hilarious because I would never expect somebody to do that in a modern movie because it's so stereotypical. But the choice of making the Oompa Loompas all the same guy.
I thought it was stupid. I thought it was dumb. I thought, and I thought that Tim Burton can't pull off a musical to save his freaking life. I mean, just the way that he directs, he just can't do musical numbers. And the fact that he tried to do it with that, and then also Sweeney Todd, pissed me off. And I don't know. It's just one of those.
Well, they didn't do Sweeney as a musical, did they? I don't know. Now I'm just trying to remember.
It's very whimsical, it
it
felt
wasn't
like they were
musical,
about
yeah.
to break into song in any second, but
Oh,
it really didn't.
okay, because it started as a play.
Do you mind if I take a break for a second? I gotta use the restroom.
Okay, we got to talk about Lady Killers, but we can pause or we can just keep rolling.
Yeah,
I'm going to
please pause because.
Recording.
And we're back. Okay, so I mean, I think that's as good enough as a segue as we can probably get to getting into our next segment, which is reviewing
Charlie's
remake
back
in
from being. Let's talk about Tom Hanks.
Exactly. Wine. Okay, so the reason why the whole remake conversation came up was because we were reviewing a movie that was essentially a remake of an original film that was actually released in 1955.
Which is based on a book. They're both based on a book.
Okay. I was reading the credits whenever the 2004 Lady Killers ended, and it said that it was that the screenplay was based off of the movie and not the book. I don't know if you caught that.
No, I did not catch that, but it also gave a writing credit to the author of the book.
Right. You're right. You're right.
Yeah, and then also there was also a note about how it's the only Coen Brothers movie where they both get producing and directing credits. Usually they each take one, even though they both do.
Yeah, Joel is usually the director, and Ethan's the producer, and then they both write it.
Yeah,
but you're right. I mean, which I think kind of lent a hand to it being kind of clunky, and that's just my initial.
Well, but they always co-direct. They just don't both get a credit for it.
Correct.
Now, did you? I never saw Greg. Oh yeah, I did. That's right. I was thinking about Greg Grunberg again.
Okay.
We talked about J.J. Abrams earlier. He's got a small part early in the movie. But did you catch the cameo of who else was in that scene with the dog with the TV commercial?
Of course, it was Bruce Campbell, who was the PETA guy or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is great, and I love the Coen Brothers keep doing that. But I was looking at the filmography during the movie, and I'm not sure if this was their bottom or if Intolerable Cruelty was their bottom, and they tried to salvage something from the Lady Killers. I mean, but when your first 8 flicks are in the neighborhood of Fargo and O Brother Where Art Thou and Raising Arizona and all these just amazing flicks, and then after O Brother Where Art Thou, you have The Man Who Wasn't There, Intolerable Cruelty, and Lady Killers. And this was such a low point in the Coen Brothers' career.
Really?
Yeah, and they didn't make a movie for 2 years after they made Lady Killers. And they really regrouped, and they decided, I'm not sure what they decided, but they released No Country for Old Men, was their following feature after Lady Killers. And so I guess I'm not sure what they did, but I guess they understood that what they were doing was putting them in the pantheon of just one-off directors and writers. And so they were kind of pigeonholing themselves into a certain type, and so they broke themselves out of it. But during this time, 2004, I think that they were just still in that kind of mind frame of like, they were so egotistical because they had put out so much good product, and then their previous 2 projects were just such bad films, in my opinion. I mean, I'm not sure if you've ever seen Intolerable Cruelty.
I'm trying to remember if I have. I'm on IMDb, following along with you there.
But it's like a romantic comedy with George Clooney and Catherine Zeta-Jones, and it's just a god awful piece of crap. It's probably I think that was their bottom.
Are they like intellectual property thieves? Is that the one, or is that a different movie?
Intellectual property.
I mean, are they like, corporate espionage?
Yeah, kind of. But then they end up falling for each other. And
yeah. Okay. Yeah, I saw it. I don't remember much about it.
Yeah,
it's got a 6.3 on IMDb out of 10.
It's a very
it's bad.
Which you said 6.3?
Yeah.
Well, actually, Lady Killer's got a 6.2.
I know.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I gave it a 7, but it was more of a 6.5 for me.
Right. So
well, let's talk. So you're talking about the Coens were on a downturn.
They were, and I think that
did they peak at "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou," and then the man who wasn't there was on the way downhill?
I think that they really built an ego when they made "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou," and like they had made so many good films before that, and then they had made other great movie "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou," and they're like, oh man, we're breaking ground. We are,
I loved "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou," but it was a lot of masturbation by the filmmakers.
It was, and I think that I think that Lady Killers is kind of an addendum to that masturbation session.
Okay, now I didn't know they executive produced Bad Santa.
Yeah, they did, and
I didn't know that at all.
Yeah, and they directed it. The director of Dreamworld. But okay, so this is my first time ever seeing this film.
Yeah,
and the first thing I noticed was that they were really heavy on the Coen style back in the day. Like they had kind of drifted away from the actual storytelling, and they were really focusing on the way the movie looked, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, well, the story in this movie takes 10 minutes.
Right, right, exactly.
I mean, it's a 10-minute story, and we decided we're not going to be spoilers, but you don't really need to. It's not a spoiler to say that it's a movie about a bunch of guys who move into an old lady's house in order to dig underneath it to rob a safe.
Right. It's a
that's not given. That you find that out when you watch the trailer, I think.
Right. But I think they went so heavy on the visuals and the way they looked at their films and the way that they shot their films.
Here's what's gonna blow you away.
Okay.
The woman who played the old lady where they lived, she won the Palme d'Or for Best Actress at Cannes for this movie.
No way. No. I remember this lady being in a movie that I love that a lot of people do not love, and that is a movie called Nothing to Lose, and that stars Tim Robbins and Martin Lawrence, and it's like a little petty thievery movie. Do you remember this movie?
Yeah. I don't know if I do. This girl, Irma Hall, this woman 5 feet tall from Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
Was a school teacher and then became an actress later and has already had like 80 or 90 credits in the last 10, 12 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she won. So the movie was nominated at Cannes in 2004, but she won the jury prize as Best Actress.
Oh man, she was good in the film.
She was. And there's who knows who she beat out, but when they do this stuff, but but I thought you'd get a kick out of that.
Yeah, I was completely unaware of that,
and I get it because it was definitely acting. She's a little black church lady in Mississippi, and she starts as every stereotype, but she plays it like a fully 3-dimensional person. that you may that a lot of us have actually met in real life.
Yeah, that you believe, Um,
Yeah.
and so I remember the part that she played in Nothing to Lose was also a grandmother who slapped people around all the time. And
Yeah.
so whenever I saw this movie, I was like, wait, she's just doing the Nothing to Lose bit. And that's just all she's doing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so,
88 credits
gee,
since 1990. Well, I guess she did some stuff in the set. She was in both Dallas Cowboy Cheerleaders and Dallas Cowboy Cheerleaders 2 TV movies.
not bad.
Now she might have just been an extra in those because there was a lot of that going around back then in Dallas. But it looks like she was one of those people who was in all the TV movies that came through.
Okay.
And Dallas TV series, because we were the home for TV movies for the 80s and 90s in Dallas.
I agree. I agree with that. So let's talk about Tom Hanks.
I worked with this woman.
Did you really?
I know you want to talk about Tom Hanks, but she was on a Wishbone episode that I was on.
No way.
Hey, that's hilarious.
I had actually met the creator of Wishbone, because he
Which one, Rick?
It was in middle school.
Man or woman?
Man.
Yeah, Rick.
And he actually went to Burleson High School. That was his alma mater, and that was his old high school.
Okay.
And I went to Burleson High School, and so he was giving like a speech, about
cool. Okay.
living your dreams and successes and all that sort of stuff. And then afterwards,
Rick Duffield. Yeah, Rick Duffield.
And afterwards, he had like a little signing session. I was able to meet him.
Nice.
So that's pretty awesome. I mean, I'm glad that she's homegrown, that she's from Dallas, Texas.
Yeah.
W is our spot. But I wouldn't mind getting back to the Tom Hanks performance.
Yes, Tom Hanks. Let's talk about Tom Hanks, who Alec Guinness was the actor in the 1955 version.
Okay.
And one of the best besides Obi-Wan Kenobi, one of the best actors ever born.
I agree. I mean, he's done some serious good work. I thought that Tom Hanks was kind of overcompensating in his role. Like he knew that this movie wasn't good.
Clear. Yeah, it wasn't clear if his character was playing a character or not.
Yeah, exactly. And
I think by the middle of the movie, it was clear that he was not playing a character, that he was this eccentric college professor on sabbatical who just happened to decide that he was ready to cash in and rob a bank or whatever, become a criminal. But there was never any explanation of why he made that decision or what happened in his life that he decided that the world owed him something.
Right. Yeah.
I think that was one of the things and it may not have been in the other movie either, but it seems to me that was something that was flagrantly missing from the story.
I agree. Yeah. The actual reasoning, like what are you doing here?
Yeah.
I mean, I get the money part, but I mean, there's
and the other characters got that. They were all quick scenes, but we saw why the other people had resorted to becoming criminals.
Right. Because they were stuck in these jobs that they didn't like, and they were ready to just
they had things that happened to them, and it wasn't that giant a leap for them to decide to pursue a life of crime.
Right. But getting back to the Hanks performance though.
Yeah.
I mean Hanks is amazing. I mean, he's really good, and I think that he really went above and beyond with his character, but it was completely unnecessary, and it felt like he knew the story wasn't there, and so he was trying to overcompensate with his eccentricities, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so
I think that's directing.
Yeah, and I think that's also being on the post tip of Oh Brother Where Art Thou, where the Coens were just so completely with like the Oh Brother Where Art Thou hit. I mean, we can do a Southern movie again, and we just have like a Southern guy who has a lot of crazy Southern, idiosyncrasies that that people
Yeah,
really.
well, but they didn't do that in Oh Brother Where Art Thou. Clooney played a hick version of Clooney.
Mm-hmm. And then Tom Hanks, he just went full on character, which was unnecessary, and then also didn't have the backstory to back it up.
Okay.
And but there's one performance that I thought that was just so amazing, and that was the performance of J.K. Simmons. I thought
that guy is so funny.
he is, and I thought that J.K. Simmons really, really stole the show in this whole movie.
Yeah.
I thought that his character, being the way he was, and just being semi-sociopathic and the way he operates, of just being like, this is the job, this is what I'm doing.
But he comes from the world of make-believe. That was the part of that point. I mean, he plays a prop master, special effects guy who decides it's time to score instead of making everybody else famous and rich by helping them make their movies,
right,
and their TV commercials.
And
because what you're doing is, in a TV commercial, what you do is you make other people rich,
right,
or famous, and you're never seen.
Yeah, and so he just wanted a piece of that. But I mean, but his personality was just so clashing with everybody else's personality.
Yeah, and the girlfriend, who is so funny. Now I've forgotten her name.
Mountain Girl. Mountain Girl is her name.
Well, yeah, I remembered Mountain Girl. I meant her real name, the actress.
And
that's Diane Delano.
Okay. And so, of all the characters that I saw in this film, including Marlon Brando, Marlon Wayans, including the one kid from Remember the Titans,
Yep.
And then also the General, which I thought General did pretty well, but he was so soft spoken, he didn't really shine very well, except for that last scene. But I thought J.K. Simmons.
But the little things, he's not somebody you expected comedy from, and he was hilarious.
He was absolutely hilarious, and even in the beginning, you didn't find him to be one of those characters that you would see again. Especially in my mind. But it was one of those where he really shined in the portions that he was supposed to shine in.
Sima.
Yeah,
is his name.
Yeah, that's right. I remember seeing that in the credits.
And he's Jackie Chan's buddy in the Rush Hour movies. He's his boss.
He is?
He's not the boss who's not a criminal in the Rush Hour movies.
Yeah, he was like the
he's the guy whose kid gets kidnapped in the first movie.
Yeah, but I forget what his actual title was. But
he was like an inspector or something in the police.
Yeah. That's good. You're right. Hello?
I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah, it said the blab ended. I don't know.
Ah, well. We're recording now, right?
Yeah, I hit record again, yeah.
Oh. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Another Damn Movie Podcast. I'm joking.
Welcome back. I know. So we were talking about the movie itself, because we got to wrap up here. We've been going for a while.
Yeah, pretty long. The story itself, I thought it was just kind of an exercise in what the Coens could do. Whenever I was watching this movie, I'm a child of the '90s, and so I make references to these things. Okay, so I'm a big Eminem fan. I'm not sure how big of a fan you are of him, but I'm a huge fan. And
I like 8 Mile, and that's about as far as it goes.
Okay. Well, as far as his actual, music category goes, I mean, I'm holding him in very high regard. But after he did his fourth album, he went off on a huge bender, drug wise, and then went to rehab and tried to get himself better. But he was still under contract and had to deliver an album when
Okay.
he was rehabbing, and it was called Relapse. That was the name of the album. And if you listen to the album, it's so incredibly amazing. Like the lyrically, like it's top notch. The beats are good, but it just seems so forced. It seems like it's not organic. Like he doesn't really want to do this, but he's doing it, and it's really good. He's putting all of his self into it, but it's just coming from a different place.
Okay.
And that's what I feel Lady Killers is. It's something that's not genuinely organic, but it has a good idea behind it, and they thought they had something good, but then in retrospect, it was kind of a forced film. Like they were trying to convince themselves that this movie was going
Okay.
to be good. If that makes sense to you. Um,
Yeah.
and so that's that. I think that's the main takeaway I got from it was like it's really good. Like the production value is amazing. The camera angles, the lighting, the audio, the performances from the actors are really good, but it just doesn't seem genuine. Like it just seems so extremely forced.
So
And
you thought they were acting?
exactly.
Seriously.
And
Now, let me challenge you a little bit. Was that because you're so used to those actors? Because we get to a point where it's hard to suspend the belief of who they are, and sometimes that makes us misread a performance or miss a performance because we just see Kevin Bacon or we just see Tom Cruise or Will Smith or a lot of these guys just get accused of playing them. Helen Hunt got accused of playing herself a lot,
right.
until she did Jack Nicholson. Until they do a movie that's different, we think that they're not great actors. And then Hanks, there was a different person in Castaway than he was in I don't know. Oh, the one where he's goes back to college, Julia Roberts.
Oh, Thomas Crown. No,
Yeah.
no, or something.
Not Thomas Crown. Yeah,
That's
but
a Thomas Crown
some.
fair. It is.
Yeah.
Um,
What I'm getting at
Larry Crown.
is
Larry Crown.
Larry Crown. Okay, because he took on an affectation in this movie, it made him less believable to you because you've seen Tom Hanks do all those other things.
Less Tom Hanksy.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a damn good.
Now again, you could I could give you exactly, and you could be 100% right about what you said, or not.
Or it could be just it could be just pure perception.
Just your perception because he was so not Tom Hanks.
No, I embrace the Tom Hanks that can break out of Tom Hanks lane.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, he's done it several times and he succeeded with it. And I think that he kind of saw an opportunity to work with the Coens, and he saw the pre-production and he saw that it wasn't that good of a film, but he was just really excited to work with the Coens. And so he was just kind of